And warm welcome to my panelists. To my far left is Thembeka Kolole. Next to me is Candice van Zaklet, Nomvula Rapalota, and Nokolo Tempo. I'm Loretta Molao. I'd like us to touch on a few issues relating to women in the construction industry. As we all know, we have a shortage of skills within industry, and there is obviously more involvement of women within industry. However, there is obviously a need to have more involvement of them. We'll go through some numbers with Nomvula as the ex-registrar and current CEO of the ACPM as to what is the status quo of women within industry. And we'll just like to unpack some of the issues. The ladies, if you can please introduce yourself and your role. And if I can just give you 5 minutes each to start off with, to talk about issues of women within the industry that relate to what have been your biggest challenges. How did you overcome them? Did you get any assistance, whether it's through mentorship, etc.? And then later I'd like us to talk a little bit about the notion of a glass ceiling within the construction industry, and also look at what are maybe some of the misconceptions about women within industry. I'd like to start off with you, Kolole, and I would like to end with you, Nomvula, because you will have the numbers and then we can take it from there.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Thembeka Kolole. Like Nothando has said, I am the head of projects or director of projects for the Department of Public Works, National Department of Public Works, for the Cape Town Regional Office. I think the program has almost given the summary of my experience and qualifications. I'm a qualified technologist, civil engineering technologist, and I've also studied project and program management. Now my journey began obviously with private sector. I worked for consultants for 3 years, and then I joined the Department of Public Works as a project manager in 2005. Now you can imagine a young black female walking into a room, and the first thing people imagine is that, what is she doing here? I mean, why are you here? What do you know about the technical environment? Why do you think we need to listen to you? Now, at Public Works, obviously, you come in as a project manager. It means you must lead a team of consultants, you must lead contractors, you must try and guide people. Now, some of the challenges that I've listed, in fact, I have to talk about my current role. Now, if you're looking at the journey, one would have assumed that at some point you would give up, or women would give up because of the challenges that one faces. But when I'm looking, in fact, when I got the invitation, maybe let me start there. When I got the invitation, the first impression was like, okay, I can talk about where I am now. But the minute I started digging deep, I felt that the journey that I have gone through has shaped the person that I am now. I wouldn't be here if I hadn't gone through what I have gone through. The biggest challenge that I have encountered, like I've said, is that the society needed to accept, or the industry needed to accept me as a technical female. I also needed to be mentored by people who didn't even believe that this is a woman's world. You come into the industry, you need somebody to guide you, because I think the students mentioned something earlier about the minute you walk into a site, you have no clue of what's going on, because what you study at university and what you find in the industry is completely different. You have to, as a woman, decide where you belong. You want to be on site with safety boots and helmets, or do you want to be in the design office, or do you want to be manager or a project manager. So one gets into the space and you need somebody to guide you and hold your hand and almost teach you how to fit into the industry as it is. Do you decide to act like a man, or do you identify yourself as a woman? It's a difficult one. At some point, somebody said that it was wrong to go on site wearing makeup. I took offense, but at some point, I had to identify myself within the space. We get intimidated, obviously, by the fact that you have no idea of the lingo, what goes on a construction site. I had to learn new language, because now what you've been taught at school and what's going on is two different things, and you need to be able to instruct people correctly. Now, obviously, our attitude becomes one of the biggest shapers of where we will be when we get into the industry. So how I overcame some of the challenges, I had to strive for excellence. I had to, like I said earlier, I had to identify myself and try and be as the best person I can be without trying to mimic anybody. I had to have a teachable spirit. Remember, whoever is before you has more knowledge than you. Whatever qualifications you have to learn from somebody. So I had the greatest of mentors. Well, I did have a couple that was a bit shady, but I've had the greatest of mentors in terms of trying to shape me into a competent, black and confident woman in the construction industry. I had to recognize my strengths, to say, what am I good at? What can I do? What can I get out of this person? I had about 5 mentors before I could stand on my own. The first mentor used to challenge my qualifications. He used to ask me, where did you learn to do that? Where did you learn to do that? You have no idea. You know, I don't understand. Who gave you this qualification? And then one day I just got upset and I said, do you know that all my lecturers were white? So if you have an issue, it means you need to go back to your buddies and ask them how they gave me this qualification, because seemingly they thought that I would be competent or I deserved it. The second mentor was an old man, very, very old man, he's very sweet. So he was quite sweet about teaching me how to stand on my own. I had to brief my first, in fact I was telling Candice a story earlier to say the first time I had to brief consultants, the one came and shook my hand and he says to me, we didn't know the department had black competent females. I was taken aback, but we actually became best of friends because he understood that I'm there and I'm competent and I can do what I need to do. Now, the last 2-3 mentors, they actually helped me. I think my last boss obviously contributed a lot to where I am now. I am heading one of the biggest regional offices in the department. Our portfolio is plus minus 8 billion if you combine the value of all the projects that we execute. I am heading a team of 30 project managers, 15 construction project managers, and 15 chief construction project managers. I think the previous speaker spoke about the capacity issues. We still have the capacity issues. Obviously, we still need to have more people so that we could handle the portfolio that we have. Now, if one were to look back and try and reflect on the journey, I would say to all the young women out there, the opportunities are endless. Have a right attitude, dream big, study, have a teachable spirit. The mentors out there, nobody's here to take anybody's job. We're here to learn. I'm learning every day. I've got a team of, I think the average age in the region is 55 or 56. I'm learning every day. This environment is full of knowledge, full of experience, full of exposure. The young women out there, grab those opportunities because those opportunities are there for you to take. To the older generation, please impart some of the experience that you have to the younger folks. Women are here. This is not a men's world. We know we're not competing with men, but we're establishing ourselves within the industry. I think I'm going to pause there because I know we're going to have some of the discussions a bit later.
Afternoon all, my name's Candice. I work at Turner & Townsend. Maybe just to place who we are, Turner & Townsend is a global organisation, over 5,200 staff worldwide. We work in 45 countries and we've got about 108 offices. In terms of the African context, we've been here for about 36 years. And I head up the Johannesburg Project Management Department. It's the largest budget earner in the African business, with the highest amount of full-time staff as well. So my team, 20 project managers, including a graduate. Of the team, we've been focusing a lot on transformation over the last couple of years. 48% of my team is female, which I'm quite proud of, because if you compare it against the female equivalents in the Gauteng province, there's only 35% that are female from an equity perspective in Gauteng alone. So we've got a long way to go, but we've made some good inroads. So yeah, 48% female, 63% equity. So that's the team I'm proud of. Some females that stand out in the team. Nolatantu is part of our team. Her and I are both in management positions in the company. I've got Tebogo. Her background is she's worked for Group 5, she's worked for Wilson Bailey. She does large-scale greenfields builds for us, Ghana, Uganda, Mozambique. We've got a new member of our team joining, the PwC building in Waterfall. It was a female that was the principal agent on that job, 34 when she completed the job. So yeah, female and a youth joining our team. So again, tall building capability on the back of a female's experience. I suppose in terms of project management, the thing I've always taken out of my career is it's a career path in project management. It's never instantaneous. It's a constant gaining of knowledge. It's not an 8 to 5 job. It's something you have to be passionate about. I eat, sleep, work my projects all day long. I do most of my thinking in the shower. It's all-consuming, really. And as Tim White said in yesterday's talk, you just have to be fully invested. If it's your career choice, you have to be fully invested in it. But that being said, it's highly rewarding. I found it an amazing journey. It's dynamic. It's never a dull day. But it's based on a disciplined approach to absolutely everything you do, be it risk management, contract management, health and safety, time, cost, quality. That's what we're driving all day long, and that's why we're in the mix on a project. And yeah, to echo what was said previously, it's knowledge-based. You know, our job is very knowledge and reputation-based. They go hand in hand. And knowledge, in my mind, equates to confidence. It doesn't equate to ego. And that's what we need to bring to the table. Personal experiences, I suppose, you know, each of us have had our journeys, and maybe I've been lucky in my journey, or maybe it's based on my tenacity and persistence. Challenges in my career. I haven't experienced too many challenges, and maybe it's based on my definition of challenges, but I like challenges. I like being thrown in the deep end, because to be honest, that's where I gain most of my knowledge. Project management is not a spectator sport. The way you gain your knowledge is by being in the thick of it. And that's what I really drive into my team. Our graduate at the moment, Nduduzo, he is a black male. Why did we pick him? Well, you know, he was the best candidate at the time. He fits in well with our team. And in this last year that he's been with us, and we intend on retaining him, he is delivering projects for Iron Mountain, he's delivering projects for British Airways, not our easiest client, but he is in the thick of it. And it's something, you know, from a graduate perspective, I'm really proud of. Some days I had a sense that I had to work twice as hard as some of my peers in the industry. Maybe that was a means of proving myself, but it was something within my control. So yeah, again, I saw it as a positive. And I suppose, yeah, in our career, I never take the path of least resistance, especially not if you're a project manager. Take the correct path. How did I overcome it all? Well, I constantly ask questions. That's just my nature. And fortunately, in my career, I've had people that have been willing to take the time to answer it. I've been in the industry for a good 18 years, and yes, most of them were male. And that's who I see as my mentors. I never had one specific mentor. I had many mentors, because I think during your career path, you're trying to gain numerous facets of knowledge and numerous life skills, and it's not necessarily always coming out of one individual. So mentorship really, it's essential, but it is a luxury. It's never an excuse, you know. And it's a relationship of it can't be forced. So yeah, that's my view on the mentorship side. From TNT's perspective, it is something that we drive. We've got an accelerated development program. Females form a large portion of that accelerated development program, where we do pair them up with mentors, ideally not line managers. I don't feel your line manager should ever be your mentor, because they've got a different role in your career. Yeah, where was I on that one? But yeah, basically, as I was saying earlier, it's a two-way street. It's mentorship is guidance and engagement. And where I was trying to get to is, we fortunately now in our department, we've got a nice critical mass of professionally registered project managers with SACP CMP. So a lot of our candidates in our department can now pair up with mentors from SACP CMP. So that's me.
Okay, I'm not Nokolo Mthembu, as Nolthando had stated. I'm actually a scientist by profession, and I started within the industry, I can say, as a support function to what many of you are involved in within the construction and EPC industry. I started on site as an environmental officer, so it was one of those baptismals by fire kind of vibes, where I was young. I had a couple of degrees, and I thought I had it. I deserved to be there. The experiences, I think, when you speak to any woman in the industry, the experiences are similar. The same. You're being undermined, you're being trampled on, and within the industry that I actually, or the field that I worked in, it was inherent that there would be resistance to it because of the industry itself at the time in environmental non-compliance. So I have a very strong figure that was the bane of my existence, called Ompit. I think we all have an Ompit in our lives. On the side, there's the guy, the 67-year-old man, is wearing the khaki shorts and the grey socks, and it's 3 degrees in rural Mpumalanga, and he's telling you where to get off and how to get off his way, not to drive on his, we're building a road at that time. So we all have that character, and I think what we take from that is that even as a young person, being a female even within the particular industry, you need to almost challenge it, but you're almost guarding yourself, because it was my first couple of years in a working environment. So I had not been anywhere else. I had just come from school. So I had that character. I'm sure some of you will identify with that as well. And that's something you need to deal with then. More often than not, I was known to be throwing a tantrum or a fit. And that's a symptom of being female, isn't it? We're called hormonal and everything else under the book. But I would use that to my advantage. So if it is a fit, I'm going to make it 50% more fitty. I'm making the point. So if you're going to label me as such, I suppose I'm going to go with that. So those are the things I guess I leveraged on a preconception that's inherent in women, or maybe perceived in women, and I leveraged on that to achieve, I suppose, what I was looking to achieve at that time on site. Moving on to senior management, again within the construction industry at a group environmental manager level, highly male-dominated. It's the same dynamic. It's just that people try to act more civilized about it. It's in your face, the discrimination and the undermining on site. It's in your face. So the characters there don't mind telling you to go away, little girl, and stop bothering me while I do what I do. But in corporate, it's a little bit more disguised, and I would equate that to almost silent racism that's there. But people they actively try to disguise it, but they are actively trying to resist you and your progress. So those are some of the worst, I guess that's the other end of the spectrum with regards to some of the negative experiences. I then moved on to government, which was a totally different experience, but also dealing within project management and trying to design projects. Right now I'm with the Gauteng Infrastructure Financing Agency. It is a government component under the Provincial Treasury which plans infrastructure projects for sector departments and municipalities. So it's a bit of a different environment, and I think being in private and now being within government, there's different cultures around where women want to be. So in as much as there's targets about how many women are employed in an organization at a private level, government is more decided on it, but you'll still find that there's not as many women as there should be within the EPC space or project development and structured financing space. I think my main message around it is the differences in the culture, or where you're coming from as an individual has a lot to do with, my colleague said, luck. There's luck with it, there's privilege, there's hard work, there's education. So there's a whole number of factors that I think not only will be going into discussion around as well. But that's basically in a nutshell my experience.
I'm Nomvula Rakulute, the CEO of ACPM. Officially. I think my perspective, I'll just be looking more at the statistics from the built environment, because obviously as a voluntary association, it is kind of a feeder to our membership, because when you look at the ACPM, we do the registration of individuals and corporates, but when we look at individuals, it's mostly your PR CPM. So whatever the status quo is with regard to what we see in terms of the statistics, obviously is going to have a ripple effect on us as a VA, but notwithstanding the fact that as a VA, we also have to have programs in collaboration with council, obviously, that are looking at transforming the sector. But just before I go to the statistics, let me say we might not be in the industry, but obviously with us as council as well, it's the same people that work in the industry, so we also have our fair share when they come to the office. Not that the behavior is always acceptable, but sometimes it's understandable due to the frustration that they may have experienced when it comes to the registration process. So we've had our fair share. But actually, I'm just reminded of something that's making me laugh. We once had somebody that held the executive managers in hostage to say, I'm not going to go out here until I receive this letter. And I was not in the office. Now they are all males. Believe it or not, they called me, gave phone Nomvula, the managers have been held hostage here, come and help. It's Jimmy, Juven and Vince, I'm not in the office. They call me and then I come, and then this man is saying that I'm not going to leave and all of that, and using all of this language, but obviously you humble yourself, you accept your mistake, and then, you know, we were able to resolve the problem, because sometimes if you're all going to be emotional, it's not going to help. And again, me personally, shame, I've had my fair share, but maybe I survive. It's either I'm too nice or I'm too busy to even care. I'm not saying that in an arrogant way. Sometimes I don't even see these trend terms that are being thrown at us. But obviously, from a regulator point of view, you have to think first about the frustration that the people are experiencing. And sometimes you just humble yourself. It's like in marriage. You apologize even if you are not wrong. You sent this person 54 emails, but if the person is there steaming and saying that this SACPCMP must shut down and all of that, after the person has cooled down, then you go and say, but yes, everything on your login. But that's a story for another day. Now going to the statistics, these are the latest in terms of the CBE. And you will see that it's the statistics of all the built environment professions reporting to the CBE. And that is just the professional registration, not even the candidature. So I wouldn't go to those statistics one by one, but that's just to give you a view and obviously a comparative analysis from 2014-15 financial year. You would see EXA was sitting at 30,000 professional, SACPCMP at 2,600 as of now, close of this financial year. Then when you go to the gender representation, EXA, for example, out of that 30-something thousand, they are sitting with 28,000 that are males, 2,000 only that are females. If you go to the SACPCMP, you see that they are sitting with 2,556 and only 112 are females. And that is across all the categories of registration, but this is just the professional registration. And really that is the status quo, and this is what we are looking at. And if you look at the total number across all built environment councils, they're sitting at 45,000 and only about 5,000 is female across all the councils, and we're just talking the professional registration. Then when you go further, when you look into the candidature, you will see that XI is sitting with about 22,000. And if you look at the total across all councils, it's sitting at 32,000. And if you go to the SACPCMB specifically, it's sitting with 5,226 candidates. So there's more candidates than there is professionals as well. So it takes about something else. We're talking mentorship, we're talking transformation, and we're still talking challenges when it comes to mentorship. Now, if you look at the gender representation at candidature level, if we zoom into the SACPCMB, 3,700 are males, 1,500 are females. And really that is a status quo. And also when you look into the total, out of a total of 32 candidates, we are sitting at 8. And that is really the picture. That is the status quo. There's quite a lot that still needs to be done. So I think from the point of view of the council, if you look at that, that is a further breakdown when it comes to the professionals. So we've looked into the professionals because obviously as the ACPM, our interest will then be on the professional construction project manager to look what the picture is like. And when you look at that, I mean females, I can only have one meeting and we would have solved all the issues because it's not a lot of them. So that group I'll call, the email is coming, I'll get the database from SACPCMB. We can engage. Unfortunately, as far as the ACPM is concerned, that is what we can do in terms of that registration category, but nothing stops us from sharing our intervention and the strategies and obviously collaborating where we need to. So that is a breakdown of the professional, including health and safety. And I mean, obviously allow me to talk about ACPM and SACPCMB because it's not long that I've left. And I mean, if you really look at the picture, it's such a dire situation where you even end up knowing registered persons by name. So it just shows how serious it is. I remember when we had professional construction mentor, we knew them by name. And when we got a message to say one professional construction mentor has passed away, I already said, I'm sure it's Erika Greiling, and it was. So that is how serious it is. There's no women at all. And then when you look at the specified categories, as little as we have when it comes to construction mentors, we don't even have a single one when it comes to women. You look at health and safety managers, we are sitting at 97. In fact, that is where we are seeing a lot of traction when it comes to more women representatives. And then when you look at the officers as well, that is really the picture. And obviously that is programs and intervention strategies that we can collaborate on, but obviously that will be driven from the side of ACASM. And then when you look at the registered candidates as well, per category, that is what it is. So it's just a further breakdown of the 112, the 300 that is there. And that is the reality of what we are having. But obviously then we have to say, what do we do? We cannot just look at numbers. The biggest thing would be, how do we even retain those that are there? There are these stories, there are these realities. And I think what I can say, I don't think it's just a matter of construction industry. It's personality issues across industries. I don't think it's really only special to this industry. Then on going further is to say that from the side of the ACPM, given that that is the status quo, because remember from our membership criteria, we are looking at people that are already registered with the SACPCMB that we take as full membership. So I think all we can say is that when you look at the collaboration, it is there, it is included in our memorandum of understanding, but we also do have an understanding to say that in as much as there's collaborative programs, as the ACPM, we need to develop our own strategy. We also need to look at our own transformation agenda, which is what we've done already. I think Tim also alluded to that yesterday. And also just in saying that that's not just corporate language. We are reigniting the ACPM. We've even re-looked at our value proposition. We're talking transformation, Once we've seen that, we're talking sustaining and we are saying excel. And then I think what we are saying is that we cannot do it alone, that we can do with the industry. And if I borrow from my 10 minutes that I was given earlier, which I'm still going to do, I think I'll just elaborate a bit on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ladies. So if that doesn't demonstrate the success that women can achieve in the construction industry, then I totally give up. But some of the themes that have come out from the ladies' experience within the construction industry is obviously there needs to be technical competence in order for the ladies to gain respect within industry. And that goes and it's tied back to the mentorship, whether it was official or unofficial, or whether it was done in a professional manner or in a spiteful manner. There was some level of mentorship that took place. And of course, with anything in life, there is a bit of luck that can springboard a career as well. So I'm just putting it out to industry, because you are representatives of industry, that when you're looking at a graduate or you're looking at your employees in the office, to bear in mind the potential that could actually come out, the value that you hold within your organization. Obviously, success doesn't come with just mentoring and a bit of luck, but it talks to hard work. And I think Jeff Pipe put it quite clearly yesterday, that hard work basically creates your own luck in essence. There's an element of tenacity, a teachable spirit. What Tembeka mentioned was she is managing people, but on a daily basis she is learning. That interaction in the workplace, the sharing of knowledge, quite important. And of course, how do you find out if someone has the potential to succeed? You throw them into the deep end. So giving opportunity to your professionals and young people in your organizations, that's the test. You find out whether someone is able to be competent or not. But the most serious talk, I think, is about the statistics that Nomvula presented. I was quite shocked when I saw the numbers. We are told always that there is a need for more involvement of women in construction, but looking at those numbers, I think it's a critical issue where women need to be mentored. They need to be given opportunity to gain the technical competency so that they can be confident and run projects. They just need to be given a chance, really. But it's about how do we as industry focus our efforts to get to that point where candidates are converted into professional registrations. I think it's quite bizarre that we have over 5,000 candidates versus almost 50% of professionally registered people. That is a task for us to take out of this. The issue of a glass ceiling. I'm obviously sitting around high performers. They've broken through the glass, if it exists. Does it exist? If I can just get your views on that. Just 2 minutes, please.
It did exist, but not anymore. I think the more time goes on, people have shattered the glass ceiling so much. We're trying to just open it up now to others. I don't think it exists anymore, but we still need to do more.
Yeah, from my side, I'd agree. If it was there historically, I do think we have punched through it. And again, it boils down really to our knowledge base and gathering how much we can to drive through it. And from my side, I hire attitude and aptitude really, because my view is when I'm interviewing a graduate, that graduate has an ability to learn. So I will teach the graduate the technical skills and give them the on-job experience. I just can't change attitude or aptitude. So I think the opportunities are there.
I would say there is, anyway, I have to agree with my colleagues, there's no more glass ceiling. It's just about exploring now the other opportunities that are available within the industry. And there's so many. Myself as an example, I'm an environmental scientist, so I did biology and here I am within the particular industry. So it's about broadening, I think, the scope of value to be provided within the industry and making that happen.
I think my opinion on that is that glass ceiling does not exist. How I define it for me individually is that as long as there's always scope for individual growth and job satisfaction, it's not about the position. Because somebody else would have said you were registrar of SACPCMB, you've reached the ceiling. It's not the ceiling. I am at the ACPM. Now I'm actually on the other side of the industry where I feel there's going to be even much more growth, much more scope in terms of the industry itself. And obviously that is going to a process that I will have to learn forever and over. Who knows, Mr. Ngosa, I might end up as a PRCPM. You never know, so the glass ceiling to me doesn't exist. That's why I had to move.
Thank you very much, ladies. So I can safely say that that's one of the misconceptions of women in the construction industry. Talking about job satisfaction, Nomvula, just reading through some of the studies that have been conducted globally on women in construction, some of the key themes that keep coming up is the number of working hours for women. Even though you get women who are involved and they come and they work for a couple of years, but time comes when they want to start a family. And what the studies have shown is the women either take time as a sabbatical when that time comes, or they are lost to the industry altogether. I'm just wondering, in some of your organizations, has their policies taken into account of that time when women would like to have job satisfaction by creating a work-life balance and starting a family, and how do they integrate back into the organization?
With the Department of Public Works, I think we are making progress, or the department is trying to make progress. Last week we attended a women forum. The department has about 72 senior managers that are female. In terms of the heads of projects, I think out of the 11 regions, 5 of them are headed by women. One of the discussions that came up in those women forums is to change the policies around the working hours. There's a policy, I think it will be launched in the next month or so, of flexi hours for women, because women have been complaining about the fact that in the morning you have to take your kids to school, in the afternoon you have to pick them up again, and the department is trying to accommodate that. The work-life balance is still a challenge. I think with the young professional program, one of my young professionals in the region is experiencing challenges because we obviously the hours in the construction industry, they're different. You have to be on site, you have to leave home at 5 o'clock in the morning, you have to come back at 6 in the evening. So it depends at what level you are at in your career. I think the more we are opening up the discussion, the more the changes will come, because now there's a bit of understanding that women must be given that care. Although we are not saying that women must be treated as special beings, but we are saying we need to accommodate some of the home life and the career pathing into the industry. When it comes to pregnancies, though, I think it's a bit of a challenge as well. The department gives women 4 months of maternity leave. Some of us, we didn't see that as a challenge, really. You go home, you give birth, you come back, you pick up where you left off. Yes, people try and act funny around you for for some time because they are not sure if you are emotionally stable because you've left a baby at home. All the discussions you want to have, you don't want to talk about concrete work and all that, you want to talk about the baby. But I think with the right attitude and with obviously patience, women have integrated very well. I mean, you come back to work, you shift your mindset and you go back to the grind, and it works.
I suppose that's a challenge because I don't have children, but yeah, and I think from a project management perspective, because we're projectized, it's a matter of swapping people in and out of projects to accommodate pregnancy. From our company perspective, it's a 4-month maternity leave, which is fully paid. And career-wise, project management is very deliverables-based. So depending on your manager or their management style, I don't need to see the project managers in my department to know if they're working or not. So although it's long hours, I'm not expecting it all to be done at the office, and hopefully that then helps accommodate, picking up and dropping off children and some work-life balance in the mix.
I think from my opinion is that it all depends. It differs from individual to individual. Not everybody bounces back easily. And whether it's you that has to go on leave or whether there's colleagues that you need to accommodate. And for some reason I had a lot of maternity leaves at the SACPCMB, but every year we at least had 3 or 4 people going on maternity leave. So maybe it was easy because I'm a woman, but what you would also realize that not everybody can easily get into it and reintegrate back. It's got a lot of issues. It depends on the health of the baby and all of that. But I think from my perspective, career-wise, is that sometimes the policies have got nothing to do with it. If I speak on my behalf, with me it was self-inflicted injury because I just cannot leave the office until I have finished what I need to finish. For the 8 years that I've been there, council members have written to say, Nomvula, you must sleep, Nomvula, you must go home and all of that. So the policies sometimes have got nothing to do with it, and sometimes we even struggle with that work-life balance. You go home, you feel guilty, and I think there comes a point where you have to say you have to reprioritize. I guess it goes with age. And I'm at that age now where I said I had to reprioritize and attend to the kids.
I'm not qualified to comment on the kids one. But the work-life balance is a function of patriarchy. I don't know if men have this conversation, so I'm not sure why we're asking it of ourselves. We go to work, if there are 3 kids and someone has to drop these babies off, they're going to drop the babies off. You pay for someone to do it. I might be cavalier about it, yeah. But I don't know, there's questions that I think it's a legacy patriarchy issue, but we can ask them and have the conversation, but equally we should be asking the men the same question. Do you have a work-life balance issue? How are you dealing with it there? I think that's where I would be coming from this.
I think just the last addition from what she has raised, you try to outsource, but now there comes a time where you cannot leave your children up to other people to inculcate whatever values and all of that. You can't be absent all of the time. So the outsourcing also does not always, it's a mommy thing, it does not always think. But they are very good daddies. I know that Bonge sometimes stays with the children for 3 weeks while the wife is away working. So they do shame, they also participating. Just choose wisely.
Thank you, ladies. I think what is coming out is maybe it's asking the wrong question. Instead of saying work-life balance, it talks to having opportunity of having a flexible working hours so that you can then pursue whatever interests, whether it's looking after the kids, dropping them off, or going ballroom dancing, or whatever it is that you're looking for. But it also then brings out the issue of what is a work environment, because if you have flexible working hours, you are able to work even in the evenings. As Candice was saying, she does most of her thinking and work in the shower. So she's continuously working, and we're always working. It also talks to a definition of a workspace and how do we work as professionals. Obviously, if you have to be on site, you can't computerize what you're doing. But there's then opportunity to look at what activities can be computerized so that there's encouragement of flexible working hours and computerizing work. I think now I'll open the floor to questions and answers.
I would just want to comment on the flexibility. We know that the environment is changing, we're looking at flexibility and all of it. But I don't, it is the preferred choice. But I don't think that everyone can do it because it requires a lot of discipline. It will require a lot of discipline and obviously where you still need to work under guidance as well. You are able to computerize, you are able to automate, which will then make things quite easy. And I think the youth of today or the generation that you are having, you know, I remember one day we were interviewing some lady for communication, then she said, you know, what would be the problem if I'm sending you the document that you want sitting in Durban? And I'm thinking, but I've got a clocking system. You must come in from 8 to 4. So there's quite a lot of challenges when it comes to issues of flexibility. I think also it depends on the nature of work. Of course, it might not work for all environments. Maybe it will work for some. And it is this point that I then wrote the ACPM as an employer of choice for the year 2018 because flexibility is a big thing there. Thank you.
Maybe just to hop onto that, I think private sector really is driving the flexibility quite hard. Corporate space, we even drive the whole concept of agile working, which is saying that your office space is not necessarily the most productive place for you. But again, that goes hand in hand with management style. You have to have a management style that complements it. So yeah, it's maybe something that's been driven through on that. And one last thing, I did have to smile when you made your comment about makeup on site. When I enrolled for my Master's in Project Management, the head of department was Prof. Pinar, who's a QS that's been in the construction industry for quite some time. And the first thing she said to me is, if femininity is important to you, don't lose it because you're in the construction industry, which is something I've always taken to heart. I think makeup looks quite good with a hard hat and a reflective vest, so that's just my opinion. But yeah, don't change yourself purely because of the industry you've stepped into. And something that I have mentioned, Noluthando knows it, just one of my concerns sometimes is also from a female perspective, we also need to make sure that we don't alienate ourselves from the industry. Because we've got a lot, although we can lean on each other from a female perspective, we've got a lot to learn from all the players in the industry. And I think there's a place and space for all of us.
Good afternoon, colleagues and panelists. I would just like to, I'm curious, as the context is, you look at the numbers you shared with us, or, I mean, you know, annual report, you were there 9 years, I chaired the registration committee of council, and we look at these numbers. But so from I would like to know your perspectives. In as much as you said, the, what is it called, glass ceiling has been shattered, what I'm willing to, what I'm trying to interrogate, particularly because not all you touched on it and Tembeke also did. What about gender stereotyping? Surely gender stereotyping is a form of glass ceiling or discrimination. And are you saying that the glass ceiling is broken and yet the numbers tell a different story around gender stereotyping? And so I'd like to know from insights, the second part of the question is, there seems to be a preference for built environment professionals, female to gravitate and migrate more towards project management and not go the whole hog of construction management. And are there specific interventions that we could consider to retain them along those career paths? And what are the structural issues within, say, construction companies that seem to deter or discourage that choice of a career path? Because in my view, unless and until we understand that, the numbers will continue to be like this. I want to see a female contracts manager, more rather. I'm not saying they're not there. Female contracts manager, female contracts directors. You'll find directors, but in CPM type of consulting businesses, and not in mainstream contracting businesses. Luckily, the ACPM exists for 20 years and will cater as a VA for people who are interested in construction project management. But those, Ronnie is there starting a construction management foundation, but maybe that will be a home for construction management inclined females, because construction project management inclined can always go to the ACPM. But what are the issues that you can share with us as SACPCMP? Because President goes to Parliament and presents statistics and gets challenged and clobbered by what are we doing about this, what are we doing about this. But I think there's systemic, historical, attitudinal and structural issues that discourage females from staying in the construction management profession all the way through.
From my side, I'd question whether we entered it early enough. I've struggled to find female project managers for quite some time, but I'd say in the last 5 years, it does seem to be a profession that's starting to push through. There were always QSs. There was more than enough female QSs, but actual construction project managers didn't exist. So of late, I've picked up a lot of CVs that are coming through University of Pretoria and WITS, Construction Project Management, Honours and Masters. A lot of the ladies I've employed have been given bursaries by large construction companies, so they've worked on site to work back their bursaries for a year or two.
And then become person.
Well, they often go into the consultancy industry. Why? Probably because it's easier. Let's be honest, we pay better. We pay better and it's easier. I mean, Tebogo, who I used as an example earlier, she has been on site. She's worked for Group 5 for a number of years. She's worked for Wilson Bailey for a number of years. She was sitting on a site in Ghana for Wilson Bailey. She now sits at APSA's head office and runs project management for us on various sites. Part of her reason for moving, she'd seen the construction side, but she wanted to now enter the consultancy side. She also highlighted, which is wholly true, the construction side, if you look at project process, it covers stage 5 of your project process. She wanted to understand stage 1 to 6. So that's why she made the career move. But yeah, I mean, I suppose I'm on the other side of the fence. I'm trying to attract them into the consultancy base. Although I absolutely love project management with, people with site-based experience, but yeah.
There's two ways of answering your question. The one would be, it's a preference issue. Some women, there's a few women that have even left the career of construction because of the hard and difficulties of pushing through as women. When we say the glass ceiling has been shattered, we mean now there's us. There are construction managers on sites, and I think if you were to even go to universities now, where you used to have 2 students in a class of 80, you have now 40 or 60 women in the same class. So in terms of the choices, though, that people make when they're moving forward with their careers, project management is more, I can't say easier, because it's not easier, but it is something that one can competently do. In fact, the challenges are much less than when you are on site. You constantly, if you're on site as a woman, you constantly have to fight for people to understand and appreciate you as a construction manager. So it is there. Then there's also the safety issue. I think if you were to look into our country now, women in mining. There's so many women that are going into mining, but there's so many women that are not safe in mines. There's other issues that we could talk about, but the glass ceiling, that's why we said earlier, it has been shattered, but there's still work for us to do. Project management is nice. I mean, it is nice because you get to push your teams to develop and create something, but there are women in the construction industry that choose to be on site.
I think from what you are raising, Bonke, looking at the statistics that I've just presented, there's also quite a lot that has been done. There is a skills pipeline program that the CBE has been doing, and I think they have prioritized women. And if you look at those mentorship programs, if you even look at what the SACP-CMP was doing with the LGCT, in as much as we can get most of the women, let me just say candidates in general, there are challenges as well. They are either not happy about the stipend, or sometimes, you know, the mentors that are there do not go any further, and there are all of these other challenges. But in terms of policies and actual active interventions, that is there. But I think what I've also realized is that from the point that she's raised, when you look at the accreditation reports of all institutions that the SACP-CMP has accredited, even when we do the accreditation visits, there's so much women in the classroom. I just don't know what happened to them after they have graduated. And in fact, it's a debate that we've had with, we've just recently launched as a ACPM, the ACPM Young Professionals. And that is the engagement that we had. Even the people that attended from the 3 universities that were represented there, it was mostly females. We ended up having a subcommittee. It was mostly females. But the issue is then, what happens? There's a filter, there's where they go. Somehow, we don't know where. So the strategy that we are starting now, obviously we need help from the industry, both our individual and corporate members with the Young Professionals Forum. Although we'll prioritize women, but it's for everyone. That is exactly what we are saying. We're saying we are focusing from your grade 8 up until to a registered candidate. So is that one is the one that is still at the university, the ones that have graduated but unemployed, including the ones that have registered as candidates, because it will also not help them registered as candidates, and yet at the end of the day, they are just there sitting or not upgrading to a professional status. And I think one success story I can say, even from the side of the ACPM, actually we did have 1 or 2 women that were there that were mentored for 2 years by one of our corporate members and went back to the Department of Public Works actually, and they are now ready to upgrade. So there's that little bit that we can do, as you are saying, from a PRCPM point of view. But what about the others? That is why I'm saying that we are prepared, you know, when you look at the strategies. But the question remains, what happens to them? Because the graduation statistics and what we have in classrooms tells a different story. And the registration itself tells another story altogether. So obviously we will have to find what is the common ground.
Just to add one more point, if you're looking at all the young professional programs that are out there, there's not a single one that focuses on training young graduates into construction. The focus is primarily on trying to get them to be professionally registered as project managers, or as even if they are registered as technicians, there's no direct focus to drive the young professionals into going into construction, to be construction managers instead of construction project managers.
I think something that keeps on coming up is the mentorship that is required and role models of women. We need to see more construction manager role models.
Given your experiences in the industry, your understanding and appreciation of the challenges, the struggles and the flourishing of women in the industry, if there were to be one thing or 2 things that you leave this meeting with, that you feel is critical and should still be looked into going forward, what will it be? 1. And then 2, if you had a magic wand, what is it that you would still want to change, within the industry? Thank you.
I think what I would like to change is both from the side of the registered professional and the candidate. Because my belief is that any relationship is a two-way. What we have experienced at the time from the SACPCMB is that we will start a program, we would have received the funding from LG CETA, from Services CETA and all of that. And it will be a 3-year program. A year down the line, 2 years down the line, we have to change candidates because the others have left. They didn't leave because now they've upgraded to professional status. They have just left because they feel that the mentor is saying they are not ready and they feel they are ready. And then sometimes then the mentor says that the candidate is not ready, the candidate feels that they are ready. And there's all of these things, that come to play. But the biggest thing is maybe what I would say to the candidates, and it's a debate that we had, is to say that maybe most of us have run out of patience. That is one. Because now a person wouldn't want to be exposed for 3 years. Then they start saying that I've got more qualifications than this mentor. How can I still be a candidate for 3 years and all of that? But there's also the reality, there's also the other side of it, where you might find that they are ready, but maybe the mentor is not ready. So whether we are going to be able to change it from a policy point of view or what, I'm not sure, but that is what I think Natalie raised that. That is what the policy requires, because from the regulator, you cannot just say that this person is ready. Somebody has to be there to mentor and say that this person has been exposed to all knowledge areas. So I think maybe what we need to relook is the mentor-mentee relationship, and then just look at practical realities and any other interventions, because it doesn't help to say go and be mentored. When they need intervention, there's nowhere they can go. Whether you are the mentor, whether you are the mentee, there's nowhere you can go. There is nowhere where you can ask help. And if a person feels that I don't sign your logbook, that is where it ends. And then you come to the council, we need your logbook. So maybe we really need to relook the mentor-mentee kind of relationship, because also there's also the danger that I might just say that this one is ready to upgrade simply because I'm tired, I've been teaching this person, it's not mentorable, then I just sign off. There are also those possibilities. So I'm not really sure how we will be able to handle it in a very much objective manner, but also at the same time ensuring that people are not unnecessarily put back where they were supposed to be upgrading to professional work. So for me, I think that would be the biggest thing that we need to relook or maybe need to change, I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Firstly, I just want to say I'm excited. And for me, this is the reason I came to the conference. This is what I came to hear or to see and to witness. And I'm very excited and happy for the ladies that, they are talking about the ceiling has been shattered. So my comment or my question basically is to check what are the forums that are out there for some of us who went down the cracks, where we can explain and say, this is what happened in my situation. In other words, we are the failures, not the successes. To say, we are the failures, this is what happened, this is how we succumbed to intimidation, for instance, or we had an opportunity, but it was run by an HR, and the council never got to interact with the actual people who are behind. They just interact with HR and they were happy, and HR didn't relay, or HR says, pay everything for yourself. Maybe we'll refund you the day you pass. And you check around, people are not affording it. So I'm just giving examples of the real issues that are out there for why a lot of us have failed or gone down the cracks. And if the programs come and they say we are going to look for the youth, it means some of us are already out. For all the 20 years we've poured in the industry, let's just forget. So I'm just raising that because I've been waiting, honestly, for the past 3 days, for this moment just to hear what is out there, what is happening to women in construction, and is there a drive to transform? Because we know that the industry is male-dominated. And are we having a drive somewhere where there are women who are saying, we are going to drive this thing? Because I believe that if you are youth or you are black, or you are impoverished in one way or the other, you have to be the ones who are in the driver's seat to bring about the change. So I'm happy that I'm hearing this from women, and I think what I would like to take out from here is to say, where do I go from here? Who do I talk to? How do I tell my story and see how do I, get through the glass ceiling that has been shattered as well. So I think for me, I'm just hungry to understand. And I'm not just talking for myself. I've managed a team, I've motivated women in construction, and I know a lot of them who are not registered. And I'm happy that you acknowledge that the numbers are very high coming out from the tertiary institutions. But where are those people right now? I know a lot of them. I know if I can go through that ceiling, I can drag a lot with me. Because I would understand what is happening, what is the process, how should you approach it, even if you don't have the money to go in there and register and do all those things. Thank you.
I think from my side, what I can say is that in terms of priority, I've just been 2 months with the ACPM. We did look at the young professionals, not that we are saying that the others are out. The president just indicated to say, wouldn't we consider as the ACPM to look at a women's program? So at this time, I wouldn't want to make any announcement, but I think I would rather say, from the ACPM point of view, it will be very much important for us to explore and to first look at what is out there, because it wouldn't help to just reinvent the wheel all the time when actually there are structures where we could rather partner and strengthen whatever it is that they are doing. So I think the undertaking I'm making is to say, let me just get the chance to explore and see what is there and see what the ACPM can contribute. Obviously, we will look at that together with the EXCO committee. We did highlight it in one of our sessions to say that our priority is going to be youth and women, as we've already started with youth. But then for women, I hear what you are saying. In fact, now you are bringing a very different angle to it. But rather let us explore. But at the same time, let me just put a disclaimer to say, unfortunately, as far as our mandate goes, we'll only be able to look into that space with PRCPMs, but at the same time, nothing is stopping us from looking at where we can collaborate, where there's already programs that are existing, where we can strengthen them.
Last question.
Sorry. Yeah, just to add on and make a quick comment. We had a discussion earlier this year with a number of construction management graduates, women graduates that are working for contractors. And one of the things that we found, in fact, that emerged from the discussion was the fact that they don't necessarily say they don't like the industry and the profession and what we do as an industry overall. But they mentioned culture amongst particularly the contractors and how construction companies, contracting companies embrace some of these issues. And they said it's not that there are structural issues, but the workers that they work with on a day-to-day basis on construction sites. And they mentioned issues around catcalling, and they mentioned quite a lot of issues that have to do with just site conditions in general and their relationships with the general workers. So I just want to find out, and most of them actually, they then prefer to then go to consultants on the basis that they don't have to interface with general workers. So my question then is, I'm not sure if there are any women from contractors particularly, is to say, how then does the industry deal with, particularly construction management? If you are to grow construction management and register more, you always have to confront the issue of contractors. So my question then is, how do we respond to such a challenge, and how do we then, who do we do it? Do we talk to general contractors? Do we talk to, how can the industry sort of better respond to such a challenge that actually systemically disempowers or ensure that, well, that sort of deters a lot of young women to be construction managers?
I mean, from my side, yeah, construction management wasn't my career choice because science has its own issues. And I'm fortunate enough to be of an age and a position where I can waft in and out sites. And yes, there are cat calls, and I get called mummy, and I go in and out, and it's fine. But I'm very glad I'm not particularly based on those sites. I do have a consciousness of the type of PMs I put on those sites, to be frank, because some of it's just plain and simply not safe. And maybe that's where part of our limitation is until there's some changes in the industry. So I do have a consciousness of it as to what type of PMs I place on what type of jobs. A lot of my female project management complement is sitting within project management offices, PMOs, or high-end fit-out, or those type of things, whereas I'm not embedding them in hard-scale construction sites in rural areas where their safety is compromised.
Thank you.
I think I requested for the last chance when there was nobody talking.
Now I'm not going to let you talk.
Thank you.
I was going to let you talk, but I'll give you a minute, please. I think it's quite an important thing that when I look at some of the studies and also my own work experience, and I know I'm facilitating, I think it also depends on the team that is on the site and the type of client that you have. There are certain behaviors that as a professional you just can't allow. There were sites where males and females are required to use the same facilities. It can't happen. I think it depends also on the professional team, where you put systems in place from a health and safety point of view, and also just the culture of the client. You'll be surprised at how behaved main contractors can be if it's enforced. Sir, I will give you now the opportunity to give us our last question.
It's not even a question, please. I hope my instrument is working. I just wanted to be grateful for the opportunity you ladies have given us to understand a few things that some of us were, to be very frank, not aware. Because I look at our forum as a forum of the project management, construction management professionals, and our mandate is really purely professional environment to try and carry it with sanity into our career lives and ensure that our output fits the quality of the industry. Now, based on that mandate status, I'd like to mention that elements that come into a particular person's life, that is not really one that is universal. Like when you have a situation of a mentor asking you, which school did you go to me, that's fundamental. I have had a situation where I've been a coach to a lady who had a mentor. And not the lady, but the ladies in my workplace. And I can assure you some of them are now registered. And in the process, the mentor becomes too busy. And as a coach, I become so available that I finally roll out to be the mentor. And because of the fact that a mentor is not baptized on your face to speak with a special person, capable or incompetent for that matter, just see which school you went to. Because as the competence, you have got the authority to find out who can be your better mentor, because these men sitting around me, please, I beg you, I hear a wave of bias that we are so many among so few women. Then we are so many mentors that you have a lot of space to use from. All I beg men is to be willing to appreciate that by virtue of your statistics and gravity, you become willing and happy to mentor needy, because you are not going to mentor non-needy if you are not available, and convert you through the baptism of the water of John the Baptist to become a project manager. You have I am a father of 4 daughters. A colleague of mine here behind me called Gordon knows. They are doctors. I've actually mentored them as a father. No professional doctor has overtaken me. Some funny doctor from Vitz wanted to mentor my daughter, and when I intervened, he ran away. So what I want to say is that men, from all quarters, especially those who have been infected with this disease of professionalism, we can mentor these ladies even from at home. But they must be willing and blow the first whistle. Ladies, my turn. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to close off with that note exactly, that there is a need for all of us to participate and be mentors. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.